Hi, Rob Papen here, and this is a tutorial about the XY pad. Inside each preset, the XY pad is active, also in the Predator 1 presets. In this preset, the XY pad is in live mode, which means that you need to move or change the dot to change the sound. All of the Predator 1 presets have this addressed on the X frequency 1 and on the Y movement the resonance of filter 1. What I did now is using the mouse to control the movement. Of course, I can record this as a parameter inside your music host program. Or another way is by addressing a MIDI controller. And a MIDI controller can be a physical XY pad or, for instance, a dial or a fader. Let's example this now with a dial. I use the right mouse button while being over this field, and then I select latch XY X, and then I turn the dial and it's latched, it's MIDI latched. And I take the second one for the Y movement. Then I go latch XY Y, click on this, and it's latched. And now I can use the dials. If I go back to this screen again, you can see that the information is also displayed here in this menu. And you can also set this XY manually. Well, this about the live mode. Other options you have here is to record your own movement and play this back. Let's do it. Okay, I let go and I press play. Well, this is now recorded, and if you want to have your movement visible, you can click edit, because then you also can edit the movement. Well, the amount of points you arrange in this XY page here. In this middle lower section we have the ARP, user waves, all kind of pages, and the XY here page controls the XY pad in the way it behaves, and also the targets, the destinations of the XY. So one important thing is, maybe you don't want to have so much points, is that you go down here and select a different range of points. For instance, 8 points. Or 4. It depends on your own taste how you want to change the sound and how it should evolve. Sometimes it's easier to have less points, and sometimes you want to have more points, and you still can go back to 128, so nothing is lost. Okay, I go back to 8. And yeah, the another cool thing about this XY pad is that you can synchronize this movement to your music. Now it's synchronized to 1 bar. You can see 1 bar, so the whole movement is 1 bar. Okay, now let's play it back with a groove so that you can hear that once I hit the note, that it is a movement of 1 bar. So what I did now is I did draw my own movement, recorded it, did play it back, did open the edit page to have the option to edit the points, selected the amount of points which you want to have, and sometimes less points is easier to edit, and then I synchronize it to 1 bar. Of course, now this XY is addressed to the filter, and of course with Predator 2 we have the morphing in each oscillator. So if I would take here a waveform in oscillator 1, I simply pick one. And a wave B, I need to make active the morphing down here, and then I can take another waveform in wave B. And now, okay, let's open the filter so that I can hear the sound what I have. Let's put a bit down here. So this is now the movement between wave A and wave B. And for this I also can use the XY pad. So now I double click here on the amount to shut down the XY going to the filter. And one trick to address the this parameter, this morphing parameter very fast is by using the right mouse menu, and then I go down and I say, okay, modulate by X, Y, and then the X, and I take, for instance, destination 2, and then it appears here. Okay, and now I need, of course, to open the amount. Yeah, and you can hear now that the it's not changing the filter anymore, but changes now the waveform from oscillator 1, which goes from A to B. Okay, but there's far more inside of the this panel here, because what you also can do is loop it. So here's loop function. When I hit now the node, it just plays once. But I also can select loop. And also this is of course in the beat. Just I play one note each time. Maybe I should make the note a bit longer. See how that works. Of course, now you have a lot of freedom in making very dynamic sounds. I'm not just staying here now in the XY. I still can add the filter. So the XY is a very versatile modulation machine. By just changing here another waveform, I get another sound. Or a different way of morphing. So this is a very complex modulation device, but there's much more. I just did mention loop on, but there's also bidirectional loop, and bidirectional loop means that it goes forward and then backwards. Okay, for the other features I took another preset, and this preset can be found here in the example bank, and it's called XY on pitch. This one uses the Y, and it is addressed to semi-1, so the pitch of oscillator 1. And this makes that you can hear very well which are some additional features inside the XY pad. So it goes down now in 1 bar, and we used 8 points again. So the points is how many points you want to have. We have the edit active here so that we can see the points. And now we have space quantize. And if we select space quantize, it quantizes the space of the movement. Now it's 32. You can see here the little squares appearing. And for each positive and negative, you have 32 points. Let's make it 16. You can see you have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 8 down. So positive and negative, 16 in total. And now you can hear the changes a bit of a sound because it makes really more stepwise this movement. If I go to 8, it's even more clear. So it's quantizes on the space. It's not always musical quantize, but it's really on the space. So if you move a dot now, you can see it grips also to the space. And if you're on a half point, of course, then you're on the half of the timing. So that's pretty okay. And then I can make it also 4. So now it has a very rough. So the space quantize really depends on the type of sound you're making. So now on the pitch, you really can hear very clear how it works. Okay, let's go back now to off. I put it off. You hear the sound is moving very smooth. And there's another time quantize, and this chops this whole sound in, for instance, 1/8 movements. Or 1/4. So this is really chopping the time quantize. Or, for instance, 1/16. It's still within this one bar, but it's a kind of sub-quantizing. And just experiment with it, that's the most fun part. Now I take 1/32. Okay, when I take one bar, essentially it's the same as the synchronize, so it's really doing nothing. So you need to have a smaller range, of course, putting it in half and putting it forward. And of course, it depends on the type of sound you want to make. So this is the point, the space quantize. If you use that one, if you move a dot, it really quantizes also on this this grid you see. And then there's time quantize, which really chops it up also in smaller segments, and all are reversible to off. So if you did quantize, you can still go off, even go with less points, 100 or more points, so 128. So this was originally was the drawing. Then I start editing. I made it 8 again. Okay, there's another thing which is inside of it, and that is the play mode. This is the free mode, and as you can see, it keeps on running. If you are still in a steady beat start, so at the first bar, it still starts at the 0. But if you have another note in between, it will keep on running. So it only starts at the 0 with the start of your sequencer. So it doesn't have any relation anymore to other notes. So I play no other note. Okay, the other mode is mono. And mono means each time when I press a note, it starts to re-trigger again. So I play polyphonic now. Each time it starts again. Therefore you see only one dot. Also, this is very important that you have the right mode in the sound you want to make art. And there is polyphonic mode, and polyphonic mode means that each note has its own movement. So I press now the C, the G, so you see also the notes popping up. Well, this sound uses preset from the example bank number 2. And here the XY is, first of all, you can see we have in total 8 points again, and it's set to mono. It's control the filter and also the volume. And this is a type of pad sound that then you can create a kind of almost a bit equal to a side chaining sound of a chord sound. So let's fiddle around a bit with this preset. So you can hear it's on the beat, and by changing here the points, I can change the movement. And by addressing here the amounts, I can say less to the filter and more on volume. I can quantize it or put the quantize off. You can see by putting it on the volume and the filter, you can get a kind of side chain effects. So this XY pad is not only cool for doing stuff on the waveform to change the morphing, but you also can address it on the filter, on the volume, and yeah, maybe also I could say, okay, let's take this X and put that on the panning. That's maybe an interesting idea. I put it on the panning. Well, you can see the possibilities are, of course, endless. The other thing you can do is also changing the tempo dynamically. So you have the speed controller here, and you use, for instance, as source the pitch band. And the fun part of a pitch band is if you go up, the tempo goes faster. If you go down with the pitch band below the middle point, it goes slower. Of course, you have to check that here in the pitch band section, that your pitch band is off on the regular pitch. Otherwise, it would also change the tuning. So, okay, let's try this. Now I put in the pitch band. You can see here, this dial is a bit open. When I go up in this section here, you can read out how much the value is, and you can see the value is 50%. So it would increase the tempo of this chord movement done by the XY by 50%. Or go down. So you also can dynamic change the tempo of the XY pad, and by simply using the pitch band. By the way, if you want to set this precise value, you can use always the right mouse function, and then here we have the option to set to default. You can see it is also plus 50%, but you also is the option set value, and then you can say 50%. So this is a nice feature inside our Predator 2, that on the right mouse menu you have a lot of additional options. Okay, so in the XY we have 4 destinations for the X, and for the Y also 4 destinations. If you need more, you always can go to the modulation matrix, where we have the basic mode and the advanced mode. And the basic mode is similar to what we had in the original Predator. And you can see here that I address the X to the semi 1, so the pitch of the oscillator 1, the amount is 0. And in the second slot, I use the modulation wheel to control the first slot. So the amount of the first slot is now controlled by the modulation wheel. So if the modulation wheel is now closed, and I play, The pitch is not changed, and now when I open the modulation wheel, of course this is not a very exciting sound, and by the way, this is a modulation slider, so it's a more digital version of it. And of course, what I do now is not so exciting sound-wise, but it's to show you what you can do with the modulation matrix. And the advanced mode even adds additional options. So what I can do now here is, for instance, say, okay, the modulation wheel that controls the first slot, which is the pitch changing of the X from the XY. And I can say, okay, this lower threshold I put to 50%, which means that the pitch change to the done by the XY only happens if I'm over the 50% of the modulation wheel. So let's play now. I go up with the modulation wheel. So this makes that you can do some very special stuff with this advanced mode. Okay, so this advanced mode really offers a lot of additional features, so really can control how the sound changes. So the XY can be controlled here with its destinations, and if that is not enough, you also have some additional options here in the modulation matrix. Reminds me to say that we also have in the XY this command here, this function, which is very important, because if I click here, the menu opens, and yeah, we did draw our own movement, but there are also movements which are preset. So set to circle, and you see the circle is a bit squarey, but that's because of the points. When I go to 128 points, you can see that we have a very good circle now. Oh, let's do another one. A spiral in 4 times. So all kind of commands you can find here. You can also say to reverse it. So, and of course I put on this edit screen so that you can see that the now it goes the other way around. Starts in the inside, going outside, and I made it edit visible because then you see all the movements. So here you have all kind of additional features. Scale the XY, you can say, okay, make this movement for 50%, and then suddenly the spiral is a lot smaller. So therefore, with this command button, which offers a lot of additional functions. Well, check in the example bank for some examples which are done using the XY pad, and of course in several presets and future presets, this XY pad is really a way creative tool.